Well, Andrea, you raised a really important point, which is, having sat in the hall of the United Nations where the President of the United States delivers an address to gathered world leaders, that's something that I did the last 3 years. What you know that world leaders are looking for in that room is a coherent strategy for taking on the biggest challenges around the globe. And whether that is climate change or refugee problems or rogue nations with nuclear weapons, the world looks to the United States to organize a coherent strategy. And as you pointed out, Andrea, there's a distinct lack of coherence in the strategy that President Trump outlined today. On the one hand, he's suggesting to North Korea that they need to work with the United Nations to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula. Then 2 or 3 sentences later, he is trashing and vowing to tear up a deal that the United Nations is implementing to prevent Iran from getting access to a nuclear weapon. So, what this does, Andrea, is it puts the United States at a disadvantage. That part of our leadership in the world and part of the way that we advance our interests is by being able to articulate a strategy that the world then joins us in implementing. And the coherence for that strategy was lacking in today's speech.
Well, as a former press secretary, I note that Sarah Sanders was tweeting, Kellyanne Conway were both tweeting that the president had used the phrase radical Islamic terrorist, something that President Obama did not. This speech had the feel of Stephen Miller in some of the rhetoric that was used. But what did you think of Rocket Man as a way of deriding the North Korean leader?
Well, to be blunt, Andrea, I think it is foolish to try to goad or provoke or mock somebody who, in even President Trump's own words, is on a suicide mission. How is the United States' negotiating position, or how is our national security strengthened by mocking the leader of North Korea? It is in nobody's interest, particularly the most powerful, influential, strongest, greatest country in the world, for the leader of that country to try to out Kim Jong-un. It doesn't make any sense, and it certainly is beneath the United States, and it does not advantage our position in trying to resolve this dispute in a way that protects our own national security and that also protects the national security of our allies in Asia.
One of the things that the president also discussed was the migration crisis, harking back to the very controversial executive orders and his view on refugees now accepting the fewest number of refugees that the United States has in years. This is part of that speech.
We have learned that over the long term, uncontrolled migration is deeply unfair to both the sending and the receiving countries. For the sending countries, it reduces domestic pressure to pursue needed political and economic reform and drains them of the human capital necessary to motivate and implement those reforms. For the receiving countries, the substantial costs of uncontrolled migration are borne overwhelmingly by low-income citizens.
Josh, your reaction?
My reaction, Andrea, is just that there are no facts to substantiate the argument that the president's laying out there. And in fact, there's evidence that has been suppressed, if you believe a New York Times report earlier today. There's evidence that is being suppressed within the Trump administration that actually shows that by allowing refugees into the United States, carefully vetted refugees, the most carefully vetted individuals who enter the United States, when they're vetted, they actually bring more capital in paid taxes at the state, local, and federal level than they do in terms of costs to the United States, to say nothing of the important moral statement that the United States makes when we continue to serve as a beacon of liberty and freedom and safety and tolerance to the rest of the world. We forfeit all of that in the face of evidence, by trying to suppress evidence that doesn't support the kind of argument that President Trump is making, that is only political and that only seeks to play on the anxieties of Americans who are justifiably concerned about the spread of extremism and violence around the world. We have an effective strategy for preventing that violence and extremism, and part of it includes the United States standing apart and being a place where everybody who seeks to improve themselves and improve their society, wants to be a part of that, has an opportunity to succeed. And that's why the United States stands apart from the rest of the world. And that is a status that we should protect, not a status that we should undermine for the political benefit of just one politician.
Josh Earnest.